I think he's starting to wake up. Do you think he even knows what that means?
To be awake means, in short, to be consciously aware of yourself, how you're showing up in situations for other people, as well as your integrity as a human being and as a personality walking around in the human race. And so that expands into, if you're just running around in somebody else's family being like, yo, I'm just one of the kids here, I'm just doing my own thing, especially if you're one of the younger folks, then it's really hard to figure out where's your place, where you belong in the greater world, what's the point of a lot of different places you could put your effort into. But really what it comes down to is our youth is there for us to figure out who we are inside first. Once we figure out who we are inside first, we begin to build upon that into skill sets, careers, relationships, permanent relationships with family members. And that all sprouts from that first level of being, which was, like I said, trying to find my place. I'm trying to figure out who I am. Once you begin to realize that, it becomes about acting consciously every day, every moment, being aware that you're acting consciously instead of just reacting to everything. A reaction is usually a subconscious. It's usually a gut reaction. You're reacting out of the body instead of out of the mind or out of the soul. And that comes out as snapping at people and then regretting it afterwards. Showing up, and I've personally dealt with this, and being too much of a clown, and then afterwards I'm like, oh no, everyone's gonna think I'm a clown now, instead of taking me seriously when I want to be taken seriously. And on the other side, you can get too serious and then be like, oh great, now everyone thinks I'm just dour and glower over here and just, oh, everything is so bad, or everything is so not fun. And if you don't agree with how you're showing up in those situations, then that's you being conscious after the fact. The idea is to be conscious in the moment as it's happening. Because we can all say, oh yeah, man, yesterday or 2 weeks ago, I was doing this thing and now I could have done this. And so, I'm so good because I thought of how I could have shown up better. Life doesn't work that way. It's not about I could have and I should have. It's about how you are showing up now. What are you doing now? So, being awake has less to do with, are you getting enough sleep? Are you clear in the day with your energy, with your consciousness? It's more about those kinds of things. When it comes to work, being consciously awake with your work is your work meaningful or not? Are you putting everything you can into the work regardless if it is meaningful to you or not? So if you're working a job for somebody else, you're putting your shoulder to the wheel for somebody else's dream, we'll say, that is a perfect example of, okay, well, I might not see, or I might not agree personally with dedicating my life to this other purpose, but I might agree with doing this purpose or doing this task, doing this job for the sake of the purpose of paying rent, the purpose of buying food and feeding myself or feeding others in my family. And then being consciously aware of that is why you're doing it. That's what turns it into a divine action, divine purpose, rather than just menial labor. And by doing that, we begin to reassert control over our experience. And that is that consciousness right there, that conscious, I know what I am doing-ness of the living experience. And doing that with your labors, eventually the goal would be to turn those labors from feeding somebody else's dream to eventually feeding your own dream directly. You eventually, as I found in my own life, taken the entrepreneurial route, discovering capitalism and the ability that capitalism allows us to climb the ladder of society, to climb the financial ladder of society. It allows us to retain that level of independence and control over our own lives, where it's going, what we want to do with it, where we want to invest ourselves. and what kind of future we want to see for ourselves. That is all being consciously aware of your labors, where your money goes, because money is just another version of that labor. And so being consciously aware of where you put your money. Is it going to good causes, bad causes? Is paying your phone bill going to something you absolutely don't agree with? Or is paying your phone bill going towards another cause that you do agree with? So when it comes to conscious living, I like to apply the idea of farming, where, and you can apply this just taking care of a dog or a cat too. It's the same process where I sacrifice of my own time, my own money, my own labor, sometimes of my own food supply, so that I can give my animal, who's another person in my family, a much nicer, much more nutritious meals, much nicer overall livelihood, a better shelter, a better home, warmth, sunlight, for the chickens that I own. To be, instead of sticking them all in a coop for the rest of their lives, it'd be about giving them a nice run and then an open field if I actually have that option. And that way I am consciously aware that I not only have these lives under my care, but that those lives are conscious aware lives too. They need a full life experience, not just the little machine-like purpose that I'm trying to stick them into, and we apply that to ourselves. Are you just another cog in the machine that you are allowing yourself to be fashioned and honed into, to be plugged in somewhere? Or are you a machine? Are you the machine? Are you literally designing and rebuilding yourself into the ultimate human machine, where you are capable of remaking the world around you to your own parameters, to your own designs, and staying within the light of what that means as a creator in this world, as a cosmic creator in this world? And that's all the physical side of it. Going into the spiritual side of it, spiritually awake, that means, in my personal experience, looking at the world around you and saying, okay, what does the very essence of what I'm seeing mean to me? What is it trying to speak to me? Because regardless of which religion, which spirituality you're really seeing the world out of or choosing to filter the world through, whether it's chickens, whether it's plants, whether it's a cross, whether it's a many-armed, many-faced being, or if it's the symbol of fire, the symbol of a star of 6 points, regardless of what it is, if it's the practice itself, if it's submission, if it's prayer, whatever, every one of those has its symbols, has its meanings, and has its esotericism behind it, which is built upon by millions of years of human beings doing what you and I are doing now, which is trying to figure it out. And that's the animals too, trying to figure it out. The thing about being the human being is, if you were a conscious human being, the way a chicken is a conscious chicken, you wouldn't be going through the world saying, oh, what am I doing with my life? Where am I going? Why am I wasting time? Am I wasting time? Why do I procrastinate? Why do I have these vices? Why am I not good enough? Why am I depressed? All of these whys and all these not good enoughs and I wish I could be's. Chickens don't have that. Dogs don't have that. Any other animal underneath the sun, including the monkeys and the gorillas, they don't have that dilemma because they are consciously what they are. The monkey is a conscious monkey. The cow is a conscious cow. My dog is a conscious dog. Your cat is a conscious cat. The serpent is a conscious serpent. And therefore, being awake in terms of that conscious spirituality means that you are looking at every single thing and you are breaking it down and dissecting what its very essence can mean to you in your life. So let's go to something very minute here. What is the chicken going to teach me? Well, the chicken scratches, and it pecks, It grabs some bugs out of the dirt. It grabs some berries off of the bush, and it's just happy life being a chicken. It lays some eggs, plays with the rooster, and then it's just its chicken. It's consciously aware of that is all it needs to do. However, that is what it must do in order to continue to be a chicken. Now, the chicken does have the choice, and believe me, I've seen it, to go and screw with the other chickens. It can go and peck its friends. It can rip out feathers. It can rip out its own feathers and be completely psychotic and completely self-destructive. Or it can just act like a good chicken and keep doing its thing. Same with the rooster, same with the dog. What we see there is when applying that to a human, what are the things that a conscious human should be doing? Because those are the things that humans must do, the things that humans need to be doing to remain human. So simply, well, we shower in the mornings, we wash, we brush our teeth, we do that whole daily process that is I am achieving the basic needs of what it means to be a human in this society. But those are the basic bare minimums. From that point on, we build up into, okay, I'm feeding myself, I'm working with others. Okay, now we're starting to move into what it really means to be a human being, because a human being is not a solitary animal. A human being is a conscious, creating, group, civilizing, society-driven being with a culture to boot, a belief system that reinforces all of that. So it's not just about scratching into the ground some and picking up some berries and saying, okay, there, I did it, I'm a human now. No, you have to do all of these other things too. And unfortunately in the West, most of the primary first steps of the work is just trying to figure that out, is how do I awaken? What does it even mean to be awake? And how do I translate that into something that I can use every day? And the answers is literally maximize everything that you could possibly do to increase the progress of humanity, starting with you. And that doesn't mean slave away for sight. I'm not saying, again, dream, somebody else's dream, go throw yourself to others, somebody else's dream. What I'm saying is find your dream, build upon that dream, never stop building upon that dream. And you'll find that dream leads to other dreams, to other ideas, to other companies, to other businesses, to other friendships, to other relationships. It just keeps on ever expanding. As long as you show up as that conscious human, you're consciously aware of what you are doing, the reaction that it is having to everyone else, the cosmic flow. If you're a part of some greater work, or if you are driving, you feel like you are driving your part of that greater work, then there are responsibilities with that. There are stewardships with that. You have your own good health you have to remain into. As you start to attract wealth, it becomes easy to start to drink or to start to party or to start to really blow that wealth on unhealthy lifestyles. When it comes to, I think I found the spiritual way, it's easy to think you found it and then start exploiting it against yourself, start using your social ideas to abuse other people around you, say, I'm holier than thou, and you should follow my method of how I practice and how I've ascended, or whatever it's called, whatever people want to call it. All of those, you have to be a conscious, awake human being while going through every moment, being like, okay, am I acting in full light? Am I shining as a beacon, or am I acting in shadow? And when you're acting in shadow, that is you being asleep. That's why it's in darkness. And we use these terms that denote nighttime, darkness, asleep, unconscious, subconscious, is because that's not our true self. That's not our real self. That's not the me that is awake and acting consciously. That is a subconscious and unconscious, a part of me that is not real and not really me, and absolutely outside of my zone of control. What I would say is my self-control. So then, to be a conscious, awake human being, you have to really work with your shadow selves, work with the parts of you that pull you down and pull others down, and don't jive with progression, and and aren't working with you. And instead of killing off your ego, killing off your shadow, and killing all of these sides of you and cutting them off like a psycho, the idea is to integrate them and to tame the dragons, so that if you can imagine in the fantasy setting a dragon rider riding on his dragon, that is the perfect fusion of the great magical beast, this great serpent of fire and magic and creation and potency and force, but it is both mastered and partnered with a human being that is consciously aware of everything that dragon is, but also consciously aware of every single thing that he is and what he can bring to that dragon's table, and how in fusion and synthesis they come together to form one truly awakened, fused being. And so the purpose of what you could say a large portion of a mortal lifespan is to achieve that level of being awake and consciously understanding and being aware that you are now consciously awake and need to consciously act in every way as though you are actually awake.
Okay, let's just fucking roll with that.